Hi Year 2. So this story is called Paddington's Post and it's based on the original stories by Michael Bond. You might recognise at least the first part of the story because it's the original Paddington story which we looked at about 2 weeks ago, but this is a slightly different version. I would love you to really concentrate on all of the details. Maybe things you can see in the pictures and the illustrations, and maybe details that you can hear or see and read in the text, because afterwards you'll be able to have a go at a reading quiz, and this reading quiz will be based on retrieval. That means it will be asking you to answer with information that you can find either in the text or in the pictures. Mr. and Mrs. Brown first met Paddington at a railway platform. In fact, that was how he came to have such an unusual name for a bear, because Paddington was the name of the station. "You're a very small bear," said Mrs. Brown. "Where are you from?" The bear looked around carefully before replying. "Darkest Peru," he said. "I'm not really supposed to be here at all. I'm a stowaway." After collecting their daughter Judy from the station, Mr. and Mrs. Brown took Paddington back to number 32 Windsor Gardens with them. "I'd like you to meet Mrs. Bird, who looks after us," said Judy, squeezing Paddington's paw. "I think she rather likes you, and this is Jonathan. He's my brother." Straight away Paddington felt at home. "I can't wait to tell my Aunt Lucy in Peru," he said. "I know she'll be pleased for me." This is the first letter. It's addressed to Aunt Lucy, Home for Retired Bears, Lima, Peru, South America. And you can see at the top here it's got the Browns' address written, and it says, "Dear Aunt Lucy, you will be pleased to know that I am safe and well. Not only have I arrived in England, but I have an address I am staying at, number 32 Windsor Gardens in London, with a very nice family called the Browns. I have my own room and lots to eat, and it's all very exciting. I think I might be here for more than a few days. I do hope so. Love from Paddington. P.S. I have had a bath, and in case you are wondering, that's my new name." Before long, Jonathan and Judy took Paddington to see the Portobello market nearby. Of all the shop windows he looked at, Paddington liked Mr. Gruber's the best. It was nice and low, so that he could look in without having to stand on tiptoe, and it was full of interesting things. Shortly after, Jonathan and Judy helped Paddington to draw a map of where they had been, so he'd never get lost. "It's more complicated than Darkest Peru," said Paddington, putting a large X by Mr. Gruber's shop, "but I expect I'll get used to it." The next envelope says, "My map of important places. My room, shed, number 32 Windsor Gardens, Mr. Curry's house, a taxi, which are mostly black, a bus, which are mostly red, the park, the underground station, Mr. Gruber's shop, the antique shops, the bun shop, the carts at the weekend, and the Portobello Road." A few days later, Paddington, keen to test his new map, set off in the direction of the market. "I think it's the next turning on the right," he announced, following the route with his paw. But he was most surprised when he finally rounded a corner and found himself back in Windsor Gardens. "You followed some dried marmalade peel on your map by mistake," said Judy. "Never mind," she added hastily, seeing Paddington's face. "Look what came for you today." The next letter is addressed to Paddington Brown, 32 Windsor Gardens, London W2, United Kingdom. And inside is a postcard that says Lima, Peru. On the other side it says, "My dear Paddington, thank you for your letter. I like your new name. It's a great comfort to me to know that you are in safe hands. I'm sending a recipe for a cake that I think you will like. Love, Aunt Lucy. P.S. Remember that a wise bear always keeps a marmalade sandwich under his hat in case of an emergency." And Aunt Lucy also included this recipe here for a marmalade sandwich cake. Instruction number 1. Spread 3 tablespoons of marmalade over the bottom layer of a ready-made sponge cake. Number 2. Whip 1 small pot of double cream until it's soft and thick and dollop over the marmalade. Step 3. Place the other sponge layer on top of the cream. Step 4. Spread sugar icing over the top and decorate with orange slices. Step 5. Enjoy. Paddington hurried off to share Aunt Lucy's recipe with Mrs. Bird. "It's just as well I've already made some extra marmalade for a special occasion," she said mysteriously. Paddington nearly fell off his chair with surprise at breakfast the next morning when something dropped out of the newspaper. "Free buns!" he exclaimed. "Mr. Gruber and I could share them for our 11s." And without even finishing his toast, Paddington set off for the baker's as fast as his legs would carry him. So this next envelope says, "Portobello Market, local events and offers, free buns inside." It says, "Enter now, best spring greens competition. Book signing, 100 marmalade recipes by O. Peel. Meet the author at the library on Tuesday. Alf Price's coach tours. Is this your marmalade jar? Cut price grocers. Here's the advert for the free buns. Congratulations to Harold Price for getting married." Mr. Gruber's antique shop. Paddington Station Train Spotters Club. Oyster Travels. And a variety show. And then inside there's an offer for cinnamon buns, buy one get one free, and another offer for freshly iced buns, buy one get one free. I wonder which one Paddington will choose. "What a lovely treat," said Mr. Gruber. "There's nothing like a nice chat over a bun and a cup of cocoa." Paddington, who liked all three, agreed with him. even though the cocoa did make his whiskers go a funny colour. The next day Paddington paused on the stairs and sniffed the morning air. There was a strong smell of freshly baked cakes coming from the kitchen, but his attention soon turned to an envelope standing on the hall table. On the front, in large letters, it said, Paddington. And inside, the card says, Happy Birthday to Paddington, with best wishes for a happy birthday from everyone. Kiss, kiss, kiss. It was Mrs. Bird's idea to celebrate your birthday, said Judy, and we're having a party in your honour this afternoon. Ooh, said Paddington, staring hungrily at the wonderful cake. Is it really for me? One of Mrs. Bird's best. It was covered in sugar icing with a cream and marmalade filling and one candle on the top. It was so tall that Paddington had great difficulty blowing out the candle, but at last he managed it without singeing his whiskers, and everyone applauded and wished him a happy birthday. Altogether, Paddington thought it had been such a wonderful day that he'd need a very special postcard indeed, one of the giant ones from the stationers in the market, to tell his Aunt Lucy everything about it. The envelope says, Aunt Lucy, Home for Retired Bears, Lima, Peru, South America. And here's his special giant postcard with 3 London landmarks on. I wonder if you can tell what they are. St. Paul's Cathedral, Hampton Court Palace, and the bottom one here, Buckingham Palace. And on the other side it says, Dear Aunt Lucy, this is a very special postcard, so I think you may want to pin it up on the notice board along with the week's dinner menus. You will never guess what happened to me today. I had a birthday party. Mrs. Bird always says special occasions demand special things. So she made your marmalade cake and everyone voted it was the best they'd ever had. I didn't even have to have a bath. Best of all, Mr. Brown said it's nice having a bear about the house, and I can stay as long as I like. I think I am going to like it here. Love from Paddington. P.S. Thank you very much for the postcard of Lima Harbour which you sent with the cake recipe. I'll keep it by the side of the bed in my new room, next to your picture. When Paddington felt too sleepy to write any more, he lay back and pulled the blankets up around his whiskers. It was warm and comfortable, and he sighed contentedly as he closed his eyes. It was nice being a bear, especially a bear called Paddington. And that's the end of Paddington's Post. Now you could have a go at the reading quiz questions. Remember, you can always go back to a point in the video if you can't quite remember a fact or you can't quite get the detail just right.